Welcome, everyone. This is Kat Milligan, Program Officer with Episcopal Relief and Development, and I am here to give you a virtual walkthrough of our Alternative Gift Market Virtual Event Edition. So, you will have an event agenda available to you, and that's what I'm going through today. I'm basically taking that agenda and giving you a live demo of it. So a few things before the event begins. You should, one, decide who will host the live event. Perhaps it's you, but it could be your rector. It could be your youth group. It could be any leader in your congregation or a group of people even. And then you want to set up the event on Zoom. For this, you most likely will want to have some sort of professional or organizational Zoom account. So that your meeting doesn't get cut off at 45 minutes. So if your church or parish has a Zoom account, see if you can use that, or perhaps somebody that you know does. So you want to make sure to have that available. You want to send out the event information to the congregation. And the invitation, you also want to include any directions that they'll need. So for example, you might want to say, when you attend, be sure to have the link for the Gifts for Life catalog open on your browser during the event. And you might also say, have a candle on hand. And in fact, to make it even more fun, you can send the instructions for the do-it-yourself Advent wreath that the 1000 Days of Love campaign has put together, and ask people to have their Advent wreath on the table or desk next to them during the virtual event. If somebody is presenting solo, I really recommend having a helper to monitor chat or any other technical issues. You know, a lot of times people will post questions in the chat, and if you're presenting, you often don't see it. So it's good to have a helper, even if you're the only one that's talking. So here's my biggest tip to make this go smoothly for yourself. Go through the virtual agenda and click open each link that you will need and set that aside on a separate browser window. So have all your tabs for the event on a separate browser window. I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So let me share my screen. All right, so you see I start with my gifts for my Gifts for Life catalog that I want everybody to have. And then I have my opening collects so that I'm prepared to go. Now more on this later. I have my 1000 Days of Love prayer guide for the Advent season. And then I have all my video links open. I have my Jamboard open, more on that later. And then I have my closing collects available. All right, so let me stop share. Bring my agenda back up. And I'm kind of talking through what I'm doing so that helps you know how you might be navigating things if you're doing this event. The one thing I will mention is that I have 2 screens, and I find that extremely helpful. If you don't have 2 screens, you'll still be okay, but it does require a little bit more navigation. So if you do have 2 screens, use it. If not, you might want to have some things printed out to help you along the way. All right, so you've sent out the Zoom invitation. People have registered, they received their instructions. The event is here, it's time to go. First of all, decide if you want to record the event. If you do want to record the event, make sure you make a note for yourself to hit record. It's so easy to just get going and then we forget, and then it's the middle of the event itself. So I always recommend just making a big note for yourself that says hit record and posting it by your computer, and that will help. So we want to set the scene. So we'll set the scene by opening in prayer. Now you can do a traditional or contemporary collect for Advent, whatever is the closest Sunday, or to make it more engaging with your own congregation, you can use a prayer written by a youth or a family of the congregation. In fact, you can even invite them to lead it live, which can be a really nice thing. And then I recommend Inviting them to light a candle, perhaps the Advent candle to the closest Sunday of Advent. So I've got my candle here. It's not an Advent one because I don't have it out yet, but and I went ahead and lit it because it takes quite a few times to get this one lit because it's a well-loved candle. But it does provide a little ambiance. And when you do a virtual event, you already sort of are detached because of the screen, and having this physical thing nearby really draws people in and makes people have that physical connection to the event as well. So I highly recommend not skipping the candle lighting. And I recommend when you do the candle lighting to go to the 1000 Days of Love and the Advent Wreath prayer. So I'm going to open that on my screen. And you can either share this on your screen or you can ask somebody or yourself to do to read the psalm and the reflection ahead of time. So here, I'd light the candle and then I'd say, and now so-and-so will share a psalm, or I'll just do it myself. So our soul waits for the Lord. He is our help and shield. Our heart is glad in him because we trust in his holy name. Let your steadfast love, O Lord, be upon us, even as we hope in you. You can go on to read the reflection there, or you can choose to just end on that psalm. Now I will stop my share, go back to my agenda, pull that back up. So now I'm setting my candle aside, but it is still lit. It's reminding me that I'm engaged in this spiritual event. My heart is opening. And here I take a step back and I introduce myself. I share why the event is important to me. We know why it's important overall, but if you share why it's important to you personally, people will connect with that. So another thing you can share here is if your congregation has hosted an alternative gift market in the past, you might want to share how much they raised during that time. And then I recommend introducing everyone to Episcopal Relief and Development. Now you, because you're watching this, probably know something or lots of things about Episcopal Relief and Development and might assume that other people do too, but a lot of people don't know about it, even if they've been sitting in the pews along with you for the past 5 years. So this is your chance to introduce people to the organization. So I recommend playing this 5-minute introduction video. So here I'm going to share my video. Now, before I share my video, or when I go to share my video, there are some things that I have to do on Zoom. So I'm going to share a screenshot I took earlier. And this is what I see when I go to share my screen. All right. So I see this when I share my screen. It gives me different windows I'm going to select. Now, before I select, when I'm playing a video, I have to go down to where I've circled here in red, where it says share sound and optimize for video clip. You want to click on both of those so that people can hear the sound and that, of course, as it says, the video clip is optimized. Then I'm going to go up to the browser window, which I'm circling with my mouse there, that holds all the videos. So that's what I would select. Now, of course, since this is just a screenshot, I can't actually select it. So let me stop that share. And then I'm going to share the actual video. All right, here we go. And of course, I've got all my videos open by order. So that way I don't have to scramble and figure out which one I need. It's just down the line. So when I go to share, I'm going to expand the window. So that way you have they don't see all the things on the side of the screen. And then I'll hit play. And just a note, when I hit play, I'm going to press my own mute button. That won't mute the sound on the video. It will just be so that they can't hear whatever you're doing while the video plays. So then you'll watch the video. We won't actually watch the whole video during this demo here. And then once it's done, I'll stop share. I'll pull up my agenda again. And then I ask people to engage with the video they just saw. We want to set the expectation that we're not just here to watch some videos, we're here to have conversations and dialogues and understand why it's so important to sow seeds of resilience this Advent season. So I'm going to start with just a question that requires no wrong answers. It's, what excited you in this video? Did you learn something new about Episcopal Relief and Development? And give people a chance to respond. You might have to wait a minute or two, and that can feel awkward, but just give people a chance to respond. You can invite people. It kind of depends on how many people. If you have a great deal of people in the chat or in the Zoom room, you might invite people to participate via chat or to raise their virtual hand if they have a comment. But most of the time, it will be fine for somebody to unmute themselves and share. Give it a minute. Always do offer that they can share via chat. Some people will just feel more comfortable doing so. And if they share via chat, you can read it aloud. You can say, what sorts of activities did you see in the video? That sets the scene for later. Does anyone remember how many people Episcopal Relief and Development serves annually? The answer is 3 million. I think that's a great question to ask, because then you see why there is such an important ask to share gifts of life. So does anyone remember what was mentioned about how congregations can support Episcopal Relief and Development during Advent? And the answer is to join together and send gifts for life this Advent. So you don't have to ask all of those questions. You don't want this introduction session to take more, this introduction piece to take more than about 15 minutes. So if you have a lot of talkers, I would say ask, 2 questions, 2, maybe 3. If not a lot of talkers, you might go through all the questions. And again, use the chat. People can unmute themselves, and if all else fails, you can answer the questions for yourself. I also think it can be good to have a couple of plants in the attendee room. So if you know that Steve and Nancy are attending, and they're pals of yours, say, please, please, please talk. I need participation. Because oftentimes if 1 or 2 people get started talking, that will bring in other people to talk as well. All right, now it's time for a stroll through the market. So we're all going to imagine that we are in a marketplace. Perhaps it's in a lawn outside of our congregational building. Perhaps it's inside. Perhaps it's a fantasy of beautiful snow, crystal-like ice structures. I don't know. You choose sort of what a scene you want to set for it. But we're going to imagine that we're strolling through a market and we're stumbling upon all these things and we're learning about them and we're getting excited and we're saying, yes, I want to support that. And yes, I want to support that. So before we actually start going through the market, though, there are some things that we should know. So as we go through the market and select our gifts, we're going to take a few closer looks into what our gifts can do. So during this market stroll, you might decide to go ahead and make a gift. You know how that goes? Sometimes you get to a booth and you're just so excited, you don't want to wait till the end to come back. You want to get that gift now. If so, that's great. But if that's the case, then I have something very important to share with you about the checkout process. So here I am going to absolutely share my screen and show everybody what I mean by this. This is very important. So let me go back to share my screen. I'm going to select my window with all my links in it, go back to my Gifts for Life catalog. Now here you can see that I already have something in my cart. I've done that on purpose. So that way I can just go to my cart, which takes me to the checkout page. I'm buying a goat, and you'll see donor information. First name, last name, email address, phone. That all seems pretty easy. Then you get to organization. I want you to write, and this is what I'm telling the people from my congregation. I want you to write the name of our congregation here, St. Paul's Episcopal Church. And then, because we know there's lots of St. Paul's, I'm going to write the city and our state. I'm going to say where I'm coming to you. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. That's where I'm at. So I'm going to write my organization as my congregation. Why? Because this lets Episcopal Relief and Development know that this donation is from a member of this congregation. So at the end of the Advent season, and we ask, well, how many people from our congregation made donations for Gifts for Life? We can know. So that's extremely important that you enter that information there. Again, that's your congregation name, congregation city, and state. All right. Then I will stop share, pull up my agenda again. And then at this point, I suggest sharing the link to the catalog in the chat. So that way they can open it, they can kind of follow along with you as you go through the market. So before we go and look at these market sections, I want to say that you might decide not to do all of the market sections. You might want to choose two, or perhaps you'll do all of them, but it kind of depends on the attention span of your the people in the Zoom room. It can depend on just if people are really talking a lot, having great answers to questions, lots of engagements, perhaps you cut one of the sections. So I would recommend starting with whatever sections you know your congregation is really excited about. If your congregation is absolutely always wanting to help support children, start with the For Children section. If your congregation has lots of interest in supporting women and reducing domestic violence and gender-based violence, start with the For Women section. Of course, we all want to support all of these, but each congregation has its causes that it's putting a lot of attention to. So start with those. I'm going to start with the For Children. So again, here's where I would say, all right, our first section is the For Children focus. Children is one of the priority areas of Episcopal Relief and Development. And to learn more about that, I'm going to share this video about their early childhood development program. And I go back to my share screen. I go back to my window that I've prepared. I go to my second video. I expand the video, and then I hit play, and everybody watches the video. Of course, we remember to hit those two selections when we shared screen, the video sound and the optimized video quality. Then we'll stop share. I'll go back to my agenda, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. I'll ask, what do you think of Catherine and her work? And these questions are all in the virtual agenda, so you will have them. Feel free to ask your own as well. So what sorts of activities did you notice in the video? So talk about that for a little bit. And then after you've had a conversation, you can say, well, if you'd like to support Catherine and other early childhood promoters throughout the world, here are a few of the gifts you can give. You can give for children with special needs, and that provides access to hearing aids, glasses, and other assistive devices. So I've got listed in the virtual agenda those items that correspond to children. You don't have to read them all aloud. They can see those on the catalog, but you might want to highlight 2, maybe 3. And you can always say, and there's more. Look at the catalog. When you do select which ones you want to read, I try to look at a variety of price ranges. So you want to have something that's a lower price range, something middle, and then you might want to include something that's a higher, just so that people feel like they're able to give at the level that they're able to give at. We'll go through this same process for women, where we'll share the microfinance video. We'll go through this same one for climate resilience. And then we get down to COVID-19. There's not a video that I have prepped to share for this. This is just something that I'm going to offer to those folks that are attending this event. I will say, I know many of you are concerned with COVID-19 relief. So I want to let you know that this year Episcopal Relief and Development is offering a gift of COVID-19 relief kits. It's $45 per one kit. These kits help give Episcopal Relief and Development's partners the resources and knowledge to prevent and reduce coronavirus transmission through health messaging campaigns and more. So do make a note about COVID-19, because a lot of folks are concerned about that, and rightly so. All right, so that is the end of our market. So we want to take some time now to reflect and talk about that experiences. When you go to market with your friends and at the end you all say, well, what did you get? What did you get? Or did you see that? This is your time to have that conversation. So here's our post-market wrap up. And I'll ask, which gifts speak most to you? Has anyone given a gift from Gifts for Life before? If so, what was it? And why did you choose that? How do you think your gift will support God's vision for the world? That's one of my favorites. And why might you give a gift on behalf of someone? We have lots of grandparents who will give a gift on behalf of their grandchildren, parents who will give on behalf of their children, and so on. So then here is an activity. Again, this is just like my candle, because it is still lit. So just like my candle brings something physical to this virtual experience, having some sort of activity can do the same. Now, your activity can also be virtual, or it can be something in person. So what I recommend, and you can choose your own activity, this is just a suggestion, is to have a bulletin board. If you want to have it in person, it can be on display in your congregation. It can be just in whatever hall or place you want to put it. And as folks purchase a gift for life, they can put a photo of what they purchased up on that bulletin board. You can even ask the children of your congregation to draw a representation of that gift and post it up if you want to bring more engagement to that. Now, if you want to have a virtual alternative to a physical in-person bulletin board, here's what I recommend. It's called a Google Jamboard. Perhaps some of you are familiar with it, but if not, I'm going to show you how it works. All right, so the link to a Google Jamboard is in your agenda. It's just jamboard.google.com. And it opens up, I'll click on a new Jamboard. I already renamed this, but here's where you would enter your name of the Jamboard. So I said St. Paul's Alternative Gift Market. And my request is that as families or individuals purchase a gift for life, they can share a photo of it or what they think is a great representation of it on the Jamboard. You can do this a couple of different ways. You can share a link to the Jamboard with everyone in your congregation and ask them to do this, or you can ask that once they make a gift for life purchase, they let you or somebody else know about it, and then you add the photos. It sort of depends. If you're the one adding the photos, it could get a little labor intensive, so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to show you how I add a photo. I already have some there. I'm going to go to add image. Now I could click upload, and choose something. So this could be great if, let's say, I have a family with multiple children and I ask them to draw what are gifts for life. And then I'm going to take a photo of those drawings, upload them, and share them to the Jamboard. Now, let's say I just want to share a photo here and I want it to be quick and easy. I'm going to go to this Google image search. And let's say, I bought my goat. So I'm going to just search goat. And here we go. I like this one. This is the goat I pick. I'm going to go insert. There's my goat. I can reduce that size a little bit. Now, I will say, even if you have other people adding to the Jamboard, you might want to check it every week or so and do a little bit of rearranging of things, resizing, putting things, in different places so that way all the photos can be seen. And I'm going to move this over there. And the idea is that as people give their gifts for life, this whole screen just becomes covered in photos. And you can even take a snapshot or a screenshot of the Jamboard at the end of the Advent season and post it in your newsletter or whatever other, or your Facebook page, whatever resource that you want to share it with, and say, wow, look at what we did. Look at all these gifts for life our congregation gave, and celebrate your generosity and compassion. All right, let me stop my screen. So that was my activity. I can go back to my agenda. And then before I close with prayer, I'm going to encourage attendees to make gifts now or within the next few minutes after exploring the catalog further. A lot of times people will mean to make a gift, but then life happens. So it's always good to encourage them to do so now. And even if they just get, one gift now, they can always go back and purchase more gifts later. And then I would go back, because it is very important. I would go back, here I go, sharing my screen again. You'll become an expert at this. I would go back to sharing my screen and showing them that checkout page and reminding them to enter your congregation name, city, and state on that organization line, because it is very important. And a lot has happened since we originally said that in the introduction. All right, so now it is time to close in prayer. And again, you can choose a collect, the traditional or contemporary, or again, you can call upon a family or a child to share one that they've written or a favorite of theirs. It doesn't have to be one they've written. Maybe it's one of their favorite prayers. And then everyone can collectively blow out their candles together. It's just a nice, we all shared this experience together. So that was the event. And after it ends, please do send a follow-up email to all the attendees, thanking them, and then include helpful reminders, such as the link to the catalog, to enter their congregation name and city, state under organization on the checkout page. And then to add photos to the Jamboard or in-person bulletin board and whatever other information you might want them to know. So that's it. It's a fun way to engage with your congregation. It's a fun way to bring everybody in. Schedule it on an evening during the week. You can schedule it on a Sunday night, whatever time you think works best, Saturday afternoon, whatever time works best for your congregation. Most of all, have fun with it. This is a time to bring your community together. This is a time to celebrate your compassion and generosity. And this is a time to sow seeds of resilience across the world. Thanks a lot. Bye.